Postpartum nurse was allegedly strangled and dragged down a hallway for protecting a newborn baby. This happened at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center in Columbus, Ohio. And the way this nurse was treated after the assault tells you everything you need to know about how the system really views bedside nurses. I'm Jodi O'Malley, and this is Nurse News Analysis on Nurses Out Loud. We're trying out a new platform, guys, so make sure you're following Nurses Out Loud with no spaces. Before we get into today's Nurse News Analysis, I want to talk to a very specific kind of nurse. If you've ever wished you could step away from the bedside and really get to the root cause of your patient's problems and help them in a different way with a holistic mindset approach, listen up. Functional Nurse Academy is a 90 CEU training program designed by a nurse for nurses. And I'm not just promoting it, I'm an alumni. It completely shifted the way I look at health and healing. You'll learn how to think functionally, connect the dots between hormones, gut health, inflammation, stress, and lifestyle, and actually move patients toward real healing, not just more refills. Whether you want to level up your current practice or eventually build your own wellness business, this program gives you the framework and the support to do it. Just go to functionalnurseacademy.com and use my name, Jodi. That's Jodi with an I, for a discount when you enroll. All right, guys, let's get into today's Nurse News Analysis. According to multiple reports in the Ohio Nurses Association, on the evening of November 6th, a postpartum nurse at OSU's University Hospital in Rhodes Hall stepped in to de-escalate a fight between a female patient and a male family member who was holding a newborn baby in his arms. She did what any of us would do. She saw a baby in the middle of a volatile situation and said, "Let's secure this infant first." That's when things turned violent. The man allegedly grabbed the nurse by the front of her shirt and lanyard, strangled her, and dragged her roughly 20 yards down the hallway, all while still holding the newborn. Security and police were eventually called. The baby was reportedly unharmed, and the man was taken to the emergency department for evaluation. Since then, he's facing charges including assault, unlawful restraint, and violation of a protection order, because there was already a protection order in place saying he wasn't supposed to be near the baby's mother in the first place. So let me be very clear. A nurse followed her instincts to protect a newborn from a man who was legally supposed to be there, or illegally supposed to be there, and she was the one who ended up assaulted. I mean, now, as bad as that is, what happened after the assault is what has the nursing union, and honestly, nurses everywhere, absolutely outraged. The Ohio Nurses Association says this nurse was never evaluated in the emergency department and that no one from hospital leadership checked on her that night. How she was even able to stay working is still beyond me. But not even one person asked, "Are you okay?" I mean, just sit with that for a second. You get strangled and dragged down a hallway at work. You're shaken, traumatized, probably in pain, and the institution that constantly talks about caring and compassion doesn't even send someone from administration to look you in the eye and check on you. I mean, the hospital has since admitted that steps in the post-event process were missed. That's what they said. And that support was delayed until the next day. But this is bigger than one misstep in a policy. Guys, we have a culture problem. Here's what I think this story reveals. And nurses, I know you're going to feel this in your gut. Workplace violence is being normalized. Plain and simple. We've been told for years that getting hit, kicked, grabbed, threatened, or screamed at is part of the job. It's the risk we take. When we walk into the room, close that curtain to protect patient privacy or the door. Yeah. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not part of the job. It's a failure of leadership and safety. Nurses are treated as expendable, period. When a nurse can be strangled at work and management's first instinct is to protect the institution instead of the human being who was attacked, that tells you where you rank in the hierarchy. Policies on paper are not enough, guys. OSU Wexner had already been talking about updating safety procedures, but policies in a binder do nothing if the culture doesn't prioritize nurses' safety in real time. And for my ethics people out there, you know this is Provision 5. This is a Provision 5 and Provision 6 moment. Nurses have the same right to safety and dignity as any other human being. And institutions have an ethical responsibility to provide a safe and just work environment. You cannot preach patient safety while tolerating an unsafe environment for the very people who care for patients. I mean, this isn't a Columbus problem. This is a national pattern. And nurses across the country are dealing with escalating patient and visitor aggression, custody disputes and domestic violence spilling into the hospital, mentally unstable or intoxicated patients with no adequate security presence. And then silence, gaslighting, or blame when they speak up. Even the hospital spokesperson in this case admitted that this incident is a troubling example of a persisting national problem and that no one should face the threat of harm at work. We agree, right? We all agree on that. But nurses are done with nice statements. We want action. So what should happen when a nurse is assaulted? At a minimum, immediate medical and psychological evaluation. The nurse should be seen right away, not left to figure it out alone. Leadership presence. There's one for you, right? A leader should physically show up, look that nurse in the eye and ask, "Are you okay? What do you need? What can we do for you? Do you need to go home? Can we send somebody to check on you later?" And documentation and debrief. We have incident reports, security reports, but we need to debrief with the team that was there and clear communication about what happens next. And we all want accountability for the attacker, right? If there's a protection order in place, which is allegedly, that's what they're saying was, why was this person allowed in the room at all? Did they not protect the patient's chart? How did they know what room they were in? And why was he able to leave the hospital after allegedly strangling a nurse? Real safety measures, not just slogans. That's what we need. We need adequate security, weapon screening where appropriate, visitor policies that staff can actually enforce, and clear backing from leadership when nurses say, "This is not safe." If you're a nurse watching this, here's what I want you to hear. You are not being dramatic when you say you feel unsafe at work. You are not weak for being shaken after an assault or a near miss. And you are certainly not obligated to sacrifice your body and your mental health just to keep a hospital's customer service scores looking pretty. You have a right to a safe work environment, a right to refuse unsafe assignments, a right to report violence without retaliation, And ethically, you also have a duty to advocate for safer systems, not just for yourself, but for every nurse who comes after you. So I want to hear from you. Have you been assaulted, threatened, or dragged, and then made to feel like it was no big deal? Have you reported violence and felt brushed off by management? Do you face bullying at work? Tell me your story. I want to hear it. You can drop it in the comments here, or you can send us an email, NursesOutLoud@gmail.com. And I'm building out more nurse news analysis episodes and trainings to help nurses protect themselves ethically, legally, and professionally when the system fails to protect them. Because if we don't start telling the truth about what's happening on these units, nothing changes. If you're new here, I'm Jodi O'Malley, an emergency department nurse and hospital supervisor turned whistleblower who went through 18 board complaints and a full ethics evaluation. And I was cleared for speaking up about a specific danger to public health and safety. I started Nurses Out Loud back in 2022 and Righteous RN this year because I am done watching nurses get punished for doing the right thing, for suffering moral injury, and so many others. If you want to learn more about how to stand firm in your ethics, protect your license, your peace, and stop being the compliant nurse at the expense of your soul, go to righteousrn.com and get on the list for my ethics resources and courses for nurses. That's righteousrn.com. And make sure you're following this new Nurses Out Loud feed. Nurses Out Loud with no spaces. We are testing out different content that's shorter form with real stories, real nurses, and real talk. Nurses, you are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are not expendable. I'm Jodi. Stay safe, stay bold, and I'll see you in the next episode.